Hello and welcome to another episode of the It's Just a Hill Cycling Podcast. I am John and I am joined by Hugh Ford, Amateurs Talking Pros, sort of cycling correspondent, special guest correspondent. Hugh, thank you for joining us on the show.
Appreciate the introduction. I'm glad we could finally make this happen.
I know it's been some back and forth. I feel like we do talk about pro cycling quite a bit. You know, you're on the It's Just a Hill Discord chat. We've been following the tour. So let's get right into it, right? We're sitting here, we're recording on the first rest day. We've seen 10 stages of racing so far. I think the most amount of race days in a row without before a rest day since like 1984 or something. I don't know. I did hear the year on NBC Peacock, so there's a chance that it was wrong. You know, there was just like a slim chance that they're just saying the
Always.
wrong thing.
Oh yeah, you can never trust Phil or
No,
Bob or I don't know.
no.
Oh man,
I don't think you can
that
trust
stream
any
is
of them, to be
brutal.
perfectly honest. But we can talk about that in a little bit. But let's talk about what
hmm
first reactions. We went into the first rest day. I think the biggest surprise is Ben Healy in yellow, right? I never thought I was going to be saying that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was definitely not on my bingo card
Yeah,
coming into the tour, but I don't know, super exciting to see.
super exciting. Yeah,
EF is such a fun team, and
agreed.
uh, people always go on these days about like the lack of spirit in the Peloton to get into breakaways, and
Right.
he kind of bucks that trend.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and is always super aggressive, even in like these breakaways that don't always make it. We've seen in other races.
Yeah.
Um, but this time it's come together perfectly. I know before the tour, like, and I think you mentioned this, like, um, or maybe I saw this somewhere else, but EF losing Carapaz
Yeah.
before the tour,
Huge. Yeah.
um, it was definitely a big blow. So super cool that they've had that success in, I don't know, just we've seen the dominance of Visma and UAE, and
Right.
to have the smaller team kind of uh, get themselves out there in the tour is awesome.
Yeah, I really like just about everything EF is doing, I think, just like the sort of the way that they hold themselves. I don't know. I think having Nielsen Paulus on the team helps. Them being an American team also helps as far as like the way that I see it. Um, the team run by Jonathan Vaughters, an interesting guy to say the least. I might not agree with every opinion that he has, but I really do like sort of love the way that he presents himself and love the way that he talks about the team. Yeah, and Ben Healy is like so exciting. He's a former Irish national champ, right? He was the champ last year. He's not holding it right now, but he already did. He won a stage too, right? He won stage six. And then
Right.
he goes in this huge break on stage 10. And I mean, there were big names in the break, right? Simon Yates, Victor Campenarts, who else
Lenny
does he beat? Oh,
Martinez
Letty
was there.
Martinez, of course. He who shall not be named on the podcast was also there. And we were glad to see him finish off the back of the
Mm.
peloton. Yeah, that's an interesting sort of thing. Not that we need to skirt around Quinn Simmons' name so much, but this is something that like I've thought about quite a bit, and I think it will. We're going to get a little bit political later, but I would like to get political right now. Quinn Simmons is a MAGA cyclist that doesn't make any sense to me. Being a MAGA cyclist makes absolutely no sense to me. Like that, the current presidential administration does not care about cycling infrastructure. They're not like doing anything to make the roads safer for us cyclists. I know I hate on Quinn Simmons a lot. Not to put you on the spot, but what are your sort of thoughts on him as a rider? I'll be honest, he's an exciting rider. He is super exciting to watch, and like if he wasn't a piece of shit, I think I'd really like him. Especially, I kind of like the way he rides.
Yeah, he's very aggressive in his riding style. It is just kind of a mystery. I mean, I guess when you grow up and you spend, I don't know, 6, 7 hours on the bike every day, you're probably not the
Sure.
most tuned in politically.
Right.
I mean, he's still quite young. I feel like he's like
True.
22, maybe.
Yes.
So like, yeah, it's like if you if you put some like if you put your faith in celebrities, they'll always kind of let you
That's
down
true. That
sometimes.
is so
So
true. We shouldn't be looking towards cyclists for their like political input necessarily. And like you said, you're right. He's a young guy. He is wearing the national championship jersey right now. I think this is the second time that he's won it. National champs here in the US are in a weird time of year, like end of June, right? Middle June, end of June or something. Like
yeah, yeah. It-
Nielsen Paulus not there. Matteo Jorgensen not there, right?
right. I don't know
Was
what
Will
other
Barta there? It's just such a weird
no.
time of year that like most of these guys are trained. Like if you look like guys at Paulus and Matteo Jorgensen, who are very different riders than Quinn Simmons, right? Maybe like but they'll both try to get into breaks and like win stages and stuff, but sort of different ideas of I don't know, like they're not there doing it, and it seemed not that I'm trying to take anything away from Quinn Simmons. Obviously, he's a very strong rider. Someone came at me on Instagram recently. They were like, or maybe it was Facebook someone posted something about how, oh, you should love everything that you're seeing when you see Quinn Simmons on the front of the Peloton with his stars and stripes and his Fu Manchu and his like, mullet or whatever. And I was just like, no, actually, I don't care for this guy at all. And someone was like, he'd crush you on a ride. I'm like, yeah, yeah, I know he'd crush me. There's plenty of people that are way stronger riders than me. Every single person that we're talking about today is leaps and bounds better than any of us. And so it's just so, but people are really digging them, and I feel like the Peacock coverage is really digging them too.
Yeah, that I don't know. I'm constantly let down by Peacock.
Yep.
And with like his hairstyle, his interesting goatee mustache, Fu Manchu thing, I
Yeah.
feel like that is like it's very MAGA in the sense that like he's going out there trying to get attention for
Yes.
like looking like a fool.
Right.
And I don't know. I I can't I, yeah, I don't know if I have anything super
No, no, that's fine.
insightful
Yeah.
to add on him, but yeah,
Yeah.
he is just disappointing. You would hope someone a little bit better in terms of like you feel better about them as a person would be
Right.
wearing the
The Stars and
um,
Stripes. Yeah.
stars and stripes, yeah, and
Yeah.
represent us to the world. But in a sense, he is kind of a reflection of America at the at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
It's unfortunate, but it's so true. It's like he's actually the perfect person to be wearing that jersey right now. Um,
yeah.
but he
Although
doesn't. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. No, please.
I do kind of want to recant a little bit what I said before about him growing up on the bike all the time. That doesn't mean that you can't be like politically aware. Like he's
True.
from Durango, Colorado. Sepp Kuss is also from Durango, Colorado.
True.
Sepp Kuss is not out there doing these things, saying random stuff on
Right.
Twitter
Right.
about MAGA. And I mean, I don't know Sepp Kuss's political views, but
Right.
he seems like a really nice guy and has not endorsed Trump so far. So
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, not to say that like they should be apolitical because they are like, just seen as cyclists. I do like to know more about the cyclists that I like to root for. And I think it's probably why I root for the cyclists that I do and I hate on the cyclists that I hate. Like I fucking hate Quinn Simmons. I really do. I just and they don't shut up about him on Peacock. How are you watching the tour? Are you watching it mostly on Peacock?
yeah, I'm watching it 100% on
Yeah,
Peacock.
100%. Yeah.
Just got the
It's
month
so easy.
subscription.
Yeah, I have the subscription too, and I'll be honest, like at first I was like, I'm gonna go with Tiz, or I was running a VPN to watch it on SBS, and sometimes it's like too much faffing about, you know what I mean? It's so easy to just like hit two or three buttons on my TV and put on the Peacock feed. So I've been watching a lot more of it than I would like lately. The coverage is good, it's just like such an ESPNization of things, the way they have everyone like I think Christian Vandeveld is actually pretty good. He seems good on the bike, right? Like, but the whole picture is just It's so different than what like GCN, Eurosport, TNT is, but that's like really, really hard to find this year in the States. Have you tried to look at any other, or is it just like, no, I'm putting on Peacock, no question about it?
Yeah, for the tour, it's just Peacock 100%.
Yeah,
I had HBO for the Giro, and I do agree the coverage there is better, and they've been
yeah,
doing that like split screen type thing where you can see multiple parts of the Peloton at once,
right.
which is super cool. Actually, I don't think I took advantage of it, but it's cool that it's out there.
Yeah,
Um,
it is.
and yeah, it's just too easy to do the Peacock. And like, you know, they've raised the prices so much in the UK. I'm just like glad that, I mean, we
Right.
get these crappy feed commercials, but
Yes. It's wild. Every single time you even start, it's preloaded. The ad is just preloaded for a feed animal bottle. It's not even a Tour de France bottle this year. It's an animal bottle because they
yeah.
want you to unleash your inner animal or something, you know? Um, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to start the podcast off so negatively. Let's be positive and talk about some of the stages, right? So the last stage that we watched was stage 10. We mentioned Simon Yates was in the break. He won it. He just won the Giro this year. Um, what do you think about the whole Visma tactics there? Do we feel like it's weird that Simon Yates is off in a break and not really working for his GC leader? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I did see some people questioning the tactics of that decision,
Yeah,
um, saying like yeah, it's behavior of like a smaller team. Like you'd think Jumbo would be all in for the victory. It
right.
doesn't show faith in Jonas or whatever. Um, I mean, Visma did have the strength to roll attacks on Pog.
Yeah,
They attacked with Kuss and Jorgensen,
yep.
um, and he had to cover a lot of those moves himself. Um, so, I mean, if you have the power to do both, why not do both? I
I
don't think they
totally
were going to
agree. Yeah.
crack Pog on that stage.
No, no, it's not the type of stage where you need a Simon Yates, right? Because it wasn't a super crazy mountain stage. It just was a maybe the climbiest stage that we've seen so far, right? But it's not high mountains yet. We're not in the Alps yet, right?
Right.
And yeah, you send those guys up the road, and maybe they're not feeling so good, and they can be sort of a satellite rider like Wout has done in the past, or hey, Simon Yates is on a good day. Let's go get a stage win. I mean, it's not like they need the UCI points or whatever, right? I mean, they're at the top of the ranking with UAE, but still, it's good to get just for morale going into the rest day. I did see a clip of Jonas being like very excited after the stage ended. He was like, he won. And I found it very odd that like he didn't find out until after he crossed the line that Simon Yates won the stage. They didn't tell him in his radio. Isn't that
That's
wild?
yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. The radios are weird. I know there's been chat about like let's get rid of the radios, but hearing something
Yes.
like that, like he doesn't even know that he won, that is
Right.
like, yeah, what is going on there? Um, yeah, but yeah, and I don't know, this tour is really reminding me of the 2022 tour where
Okay.
Pog was dominating in the first week.
Yeah.
It seemed like a repeat of 21.
Right.
And then Yumbo kind of had the strength in the latter half of the tour to like team up on him and
Right.
crack him eventually. And it seems like so far he's only taken time on the ITT and
Yep.
bonus seconds. I
Right.
don't think he's had a gap on Jonas at the end of any of the stages,
Right.
which is really promising for a competitive tour. I mean, with the context of the Dauphiné, it's kind
Sure.
of hard to have so much faith in Visma, but I don't know. I am excited to see if they can do like a death by 1,000 paper cuts or whatever.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like it is the most that we've seen Pog scramble all year has been this sort of these couple of attacks and stuff. And yesterday, or on stage 10, they were doing it the most that they've done it all year. But you're right, it did was sort of reminding me of that Col de Grenon, Primo's attack, Jonas attack, Primo's attack, and like I don't know, Pog wasn't alone in stage 10. Narvaez had to come sort of from the back. And I
Hmm.
think it sucks what happened to Joao Almeida, but he's not there now. And I mean, not only could he have been a podium finisher, but he also is that type of high mountain domestique that Niels Pollitt is not, right? Like some of those other guys on the Rafa Micah, great, great riders, but like once you get to the sort of high mountains, it's a very different type of riding. And we haven't been there yet, but that TT, that TT seems so like it really is the decision maker right now. And not only the decision maker for what the time shows, but like for us as fans, I think the doubters, the Jonas doubters are they they see that and they feel sort of, they feel good about their doubt. It's like, oh, well, look at this guy. Like he hemorrhaged over a minute. Like, you know, there's one more TT though, and it goes pretty much uphill. So we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they had success in the mountain TT with in the Dauphiné, and Jonas has always been good at the mountain TTs. So, um, yeah, it will be interesting to see if he's able to bounce back or if that's actually like his TT form um,
Right.
at the moment.
It is
Yeah.
only an 11-kilometer TT. That's happening on Friday. It's 11 kilometers. So like can't really get a minute back there. There's not enough distance, really.
Yeah, and I think something that Hog has struggled with in the past is that bike transition. I remember
Yes.
that was pretty big in the 2023 tour, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, is this one completely uphill or is there a
It's
chance to
like
switch
maybe
bike?
2 or 3 kilometers of flat, but then I think the last like seven or so is completely uphill. Have you heard any talk about bike swaps? It's so
No.
short.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they ride this on the TT bikes
Right.
themselves.
Right.
And I mean, the Cervelo bikes that Visma have are, I think, are a bit superior to the Colnago, but
I think so too. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if there
Honestly,
will be
can't believe
enough.
that Colnago. I can't believe that like Pog rides a Colnago. I mean, they're beautiful bikes. Don't get me wrong. But like as far as like lab testing is concerned, it is wild that like I don't know. Apparently, the new one is like pretty fast, and it does a lot of the same things that like the new S5 does. But yeah, I find it so funny that like Pog is on this brand. I mean, it's not very an American centric brand. We really don't see a lot of them. I don't see a lot of them, at least to you, where you are.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's interesting, but you're right. Like that Cervelo S5 is very, very like fast, right? It's very aerodynamic. It's not quite a TT bike, but I'm sure they can set it up in a way. And we're going to be seeing 62 tooth chain rings, or I wonder what we're going to be seeing. It's going to be pretty interesting because it is sort of straight uphill. Like, are guys going to be running a two by, or are guys just going to be running a smaller chain ring? Does Remco still run like a 64 and just hammer it up the hill? I don't know because those TT setups are very interesting, whether or not they're on a true TT bike. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought Primo's did his on a 68 for this last TT.
8.
That that might be fake news, but I feel like I saw that. Um, which is just insane. And he's not like the biggest guy in the Peloton. Like if that
No.
was Filippo Ganna, maybe, but
Right.
Roglic, yeah, it's crazy. He's kind of been one of my disappointments for this tour.
Yeah.
He just hasn't been competitive in the finals. He's just like slowly bleeding time, a bit of top tens.
Yeah.
Um, I guess his sights were on the Giro this year, but I
Oh,
I always
but
like seeing Roglic ride and mixing it up. So Yeah, kind of
Yeah,
disappointing for me.
I feel like even all the interviews that we've seen, he's been very much like, eh. I mean, he's always kind of like that, right?
Yeah.
He's always kind of like, well, But then, like, he's really like, I just want to get to France and drink champagne on the last stage. I mean, he does. I know this is sort of cannon fodder for Primo's talk, but he does crash a lot. And I'd be
Yeah.
happy to see him make it to Paris too, you know?
Yeah, it is. It's a running joke
Right.
between me and my dad
Oh, yeah.
whenever we see we're predicting when Primoz is going to drop out of a race and
Yeah.
what are the odds of when that's going to happen. So
Right.
yeah, it is, as you say, a bit of cannon fodder for uh, yeah, he
The poor
does.
Primos. I know.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's a whole interesting thing. Not only the way that he's riding, but that Bora team I think is interesting. And then the fact like he's on like a 1 year contract. There's a lot of rumors that like maybe Remco's going over there or who knows. And so yeah, Primo's not having the best tour. But who do you think we talked about Ben Healy sort of standing out and above? Let's go backwards. Stage 10 was Simon Yates. The stage before that, stage nine, Tim Merlier won it in a sprint. And then before that, stage eight was Johnny Milan in a sprint. Those are pretty
mhm.
straightforward stages, I think. Nothing too exciting really happened there. Before that, stage seven was a Pog win. And then Ben Healy was stage six. What was that Pog win like on stage seven?
The seven was the Mur de
Oh,
Bretagne
yeah, that was
stage.
Britannia. Yeah, that's right. It was
Yeah.
almost 200 kilometers. Yeah,
hmm That saw Almeida crash out.
right, right.
Buitrago, I guess he's still in the race, but
That was
he's out of
nasty. I can't
GC.
believe we saw him, at least in the coverage that I saw him like get walking. And it was like, for lack of a better term, disturbing to see him walk. It looked like he forgot how to walk, you know?
Yeah, that one made my stomach turn.
Right.
That was kind of brutal to see and just crazy that he's back on the bike in such a short time. I've never had a serious crash, but and I'm obviously not a professional rider, so I don't know how I would react to crashing, but the fact that they're able to, or not even able to, but like that they, I don't know, it's such a complicated, and we'll get into some talk about motivation behind teams in a little bit, I guess, but
Yeah.
and the money tied up in it. But yeah, it is sickening to see some of these guys riding with concussions and things like that.
Yeah, the concussion protocol seems very flawed. I think the UCI is very flawed in the rules that they come up with, whether or not they think they're for rider safety. They seem to always be making decisions that don't change anything that the UCI has to do. It's just they
hmm
make decisions for teams. Like it doesn't cost the UCI any money to say, hey, you can't run 38 bars anymore. You have to run 40s. You know what I mean? It doesn't cost the UCI any money to say you can't run that 62 tooth chain ring. Um, the concussion protocol though is so bad that like this is something that I've sort of heard on other podcasts and I've been reading out about a lot. What do you think about a rider that gets involved in a crash? They're in, let's say, group one. They're not in the breakaway, but they're in group one. They get involved in a crash. Should they be allowed to get towed back by their team car back to that group? What are your thoughts on that?
That is tough. It is tough because it's like there's so many different factors, like who
Right,
caused the crash. Um, were they being reckless
right,
and were they making a smart decision or was it just bad luck?
right,
For bad luck, I don't really see a problem with them drafting behind the cars. And I mean, if it's a mountain stage, I don't know if that will help.
right.
But if it's a flat stage and they just get unlucky, I don't see any problem with them doing the full concussion protocol, and if they're cleared, having a free ride back to the group that they were in. If they
Because that
cause a
takes
crash,
time, right? The concussion protocol takes time. Yeah, if they cause the crash, and that's hard. How do you make that decision on the spot? How does the commissaire make that decision? That's hard.
right? Because I mean, we've seen bad commissaire decisions all the time
Yeah.
with like even at the start of the tour with I think it was stage three with Phillipson getting
Oh, right.
crashed by Coquard. Even I mean, they ascribed fault to Coquard, but
Right.
I don't know if there's like that much fault there. They gave him a yellow card, which I think is a good system. It has its flaws that still need to be worked out, but I'm glad
Right.
that that got implemented. But yeah, in terms of like finding out who's at fault in the crash, doing that on the fly while they're doing a concussion
Right.
test
Right.
is so impractical. I really don't know how to like come up with like the perfect solution for this. And at some point it just becomes like it's too bad sort of thing. You
Right.
got to put the health of the rider first. Um,
Yeah, is it just racing is racing, right? Like racing is racing. Bad luck happens, mechanicals happen, crashes happen. That seems to be the easier sort of catch-all way to be like, no, you can't chase back on. Sorry, Almeida. I know you crashed, but you're going to be 10 minutes out of GC now. And even if he had remained healthy enough to continue riding, he still was totally out of podium contention. And that is just because the way that it is, like part of racing and part of cycling is luck, like sports are a field of unfair advantages, whether you have a freak VO2 max or whatever it is, right? You're riding a specialized or you're riding a Colnago, you know what I mean? Like there's all these different like advantages and disadvantages that can happen. And so I don't know, like I feel like they were a little bit too harsh on Almeida when he was trying to chase back on. I mean, it's one thing, he's not holding on to the car. He's sort of sitting behind, he's surfing cars. It's not like it doesn't happen. That's the thing, and yeah, but I really think we probably talked about the tour a little bit too long. Let's get into sort of the topic at hand and something that you have wanted to talk about on the podcast for quite some time, but it is sports washing in cycling, right? There's a lot of money in pro cycling, like you mentioned, not always from the cleanest sources. Let's talk about sports washing. So, can you give sort of just like a brief definition of what it is for anyone who's listening that don't sort of have never heard of it before?
right. Yeah. So sports washing, sorry,
Mhm.
sports washing is typically done by like corporations or unpopular governments to try and like launder their public image, either by sponsoring a sporting event or a sporting team.
Right,
Um, the most common examples that non-cyclists will be familiar with are kind of usually in soccer. Like if we
yeah,
think back to like the Qatar World Cup, um, or like Fly Emirates,
right,
or Manchester City,
right.
um,
It's also
things
really
like
big
that.
in F1 right now, I think, which I don't follow F1 really, but from reading about it, it seems to also be very prevalent in a lot of these same sort of places, right?
Mm, yeah.
Israel, UAE, Qatar, like those sort of places. Yeah,
Yeah, so it is interesting because things like F1 or pro soccer, they get a lot more eyes on them
right,
than cycling, which is a relatively niche sport.
right,
Um, but I think cycling is very like susceptible to sports washing just because of the situation where the teams don't really bring in very much money and
right,
they're super reliant on sponsors. So, I mean, the teams are named after sponsors. There's no
right,
like, I guess they tried to do something with the NCL here in the US with like the Denver Disruptors
right.
and teams like that, but the UCI pro cycling teams and World Tour teams are just like, yeah, UAE Team Emirates or
Right.
corporate
Israel
sponsors like
Premier Tech, Bahrain Victorious. Right. And those are sort of the
right,
problematic ones, right? I mean, and those are the ones that are sort of heavily tied to nations that are, at war. There's genocide happening in these places. And what they're trying to do is sort of, that's what sports washing is, right? They're trying to help their own image by sponsoring a team or sponsoring a rider like Tadej Pogacar, who's the strongest rider in the world. And every time he wins a race, it says UAE Team Emirates on the front of his jersey, and like so much so that like there are X Lab is another sponsor, title sponsor, but like we don't say UAE Team Emirates X Lab. We say UAE every single time, right? And like Bahrain every single time, Israel or Israel Premier Tech, right? And so those are like the forefront. But then there are all these other companies like, that are also pretty bad in cycling. But I think you mentioned the biggest kicker is they're not bringing in money, right? Fans for cycling just stand on the side of the road. They're not
right,
entering a stadium and paying admission to go and watch it. And so you're not getting money in that regard. You need the sponsors.
right. And even things like broadcasting rights, the teams don't get a cut of that.
Right.
It's all like the ASO
The
or
organizers, right? The people that
right.
organize
Yeah.
the events, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the teams are really kind of at the hands of these sponsors. And so when a country like UAE comes in with a big sovereign wealth fund, um, I well, it's pretty hard for a team to say, no, we're not going to
Of
sell
course.
our license to you.
Right.
Um, you mentioned Bahrain. There's also Jayco Alula, XDS
Oh, right.
Astana,
Right.
um,
Right.
and
There's
then
so
of course
many.
Israel Premier Tech. I do want to note in like my research for this, Israel Premier Tech is not actually sponsored by the state of Israel,
Oh,
but
really?
they, yeah, so but they do say that they represent Israel
Israel.
as a country. So
Yeah.
it
Okay.
is kind of a weird relationship. It was explicitly formed to develop Israeli cyclists and their
Oh,
goal at their yeah,
I
initiation
want to
was
know
to
what those
send
numbers are actually like. I want to know how many Israeli cyclists are actually on that team or the dev team or something, because I
yeah.
don't think we're seeing very many Middle Eastern riders in general, you know, not in not in the world tour at least.
Right. Yeah. And so while it isn't connected to is Israel's like sovereign wealth fund, I don't know if they have a sovereign wealth fund, but
Right.
it does represent Israel. So it does represent the genocide, the occupation of the West Bank,
Right.
that there is all that baggage. And if they really wanted to make it, well, they would, they should make some sort of declaration that
Right.
they don't support these
Right.
things if they really wanted to distance themselves from that kind of yeah, that way that they're representing themselves, because by accepting that sponsor money and having that in their name, they are endorsing the state of Israel's actions. So there's also some other organizations we talked about, kind of these autocratic regimes that violate human rights. Um, there are also big oil sponsors, which I think are
Right.
also kind of a shame because cycling, when I think of cycling, I think of green
Right.
technology and
Right.
sustainability. And so it is a shame that they get involved in the sport. Just to name a few, there's Ineos Grenadiers, uh, Uno X Mobility, the Norwegian team,
Mhm.
Team Total Energies in the French second division, and British Cycling is sponsored by Shell. So those are all pretty big teams
Yeah.
that
Yeah, all of British cycling, right? So like their national team is sponsored by Shell. I totally forgot about that, but you do see it on. You see it on the jerseys, and it becomes there aren't really riders speaking out against it, like are there riders that are on other teams that are saying, hey, this is bad? Not really. I think it just all sort of remains pretty hush hush, like you have people like us who are talking about it, and you see write-ups about it and stuff. But does cycling feel like, do you think it's because of that lack of bringing money in that it feels almost like more rife for it than other sports? Or is it taking place in soccer and in F1 just as much, if not more, but they're also making money? It's just a more lucrative sport in general?
Yeah, that is a good question. Um, there there have been instances of protests at cycling events.
True.
I don't
True.
think those are necessarily from the average cycling fan.
Right.
I do take a lot of heart seeing Palestinian flags at cycling events.
Yep.
Um, you do see a lot of those,
Yeah,
which
for sure.
is awesome. Um, and I did come across one of the riders for X this year declined to ride in the Alula Tour
I did see
in
that. That's right.
Saudi Arabia,
Right.
and he cited issues with women's rights in Saudi Arabia and LGBTQ rights. Um, that was Soren Varenskold. Um,
Nice.
but it is it is hard to like bite the hand that feeds you in terms
Yeah,
of
for
like
sure.
you're a rider. Someone like Soren Waringskold probably isn't making a ton of money. Their
Right.
contract could be pretty precarious. Um, whereas someone like Tadej Pogacar on UAE makes $8 million per year and
Right.
could ride for any team that he wants. Any team would
Right.
want him.
Yep. Any team.
So
Yep.
it's hard to, well, I guess it's like where's the line that we can judge riders based on their willingness to stand up for their principles in this sport, because there is such a divide between the top riders and the kind of main pack.
Right. Yeah, you're right. And unfortunately, we're going to run out of time in like just a second. I think that we've barely scratched the surface of like this issue, but I think that you've done a really good job at sort of letting our listeners know that this issue exists, because I'm sure a lot of people don't even think about it necessarily. So, all right, so we started a new chat. Hugh, you were cut off in the middle of what we were saying, but you're sort of I feel like the last great point that you made was, to do with like Pog could ride for any team. And yes, he's choosing to, not that he has a lifetime contract, but basically he's there, I think right now through like 28 or something, 2028. Um, and yeah, like the riders that are choosing to say no are heroes, you know what I mean? Because they're not like Pog making $8 million a year. Someone on Uno X, even their best rider, Magnus Cort Nielsen, right, is probably not making six figures a year, maybe if that, right? I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that is not a big team. That is a team that gets wild card selections to big world tours like this, right? So they're not someone that can really hold a candle to UAE or Visma or anything like that. And it's sort of like, this is a very like American way of looking at things, right? Because like, that's just who we are. And we grew up in sort of this like, capitalism society. And there are really you speak about not wanting like celebrity heroes. There's really no CEOs to look up to anymore, at least in America, right? Like most of these companies, like you're choosing to boycott Target, but you're going to Walmart. Well, guess what? The Waltons aren't perfect, or like it's really very hard in the sort of late stage capitalism that is the United States right now to make a conscious decision about, what sort of speaks to you in that sort of political, or this is more than just political. This is human rights we're talking about, right? Like that's not politics. That's just humans having, the right to like healthy water and healthcare and all that sort of stuff, right? And like these nations are just they're fucking bad news, you know?
Yeah, it is kind of, as you put it, a question that each person kind of has to answer for themselves, figure out where they kind of draw the line. Me speaking personally, I really like Pogacar as a rider.
Yeah,
And just, I mean, so I guess mentally, and I'm obviously not a perfect human being. I'm flawed. So it is that question of where do we each draw the line for ourselves? I had a
right,
friend who boycotted watching the Qatar World Cup. I chose to watch the Qatar World Cup. These are kind of conscious decisions that we each have to kind of think about the ethics of and what
right.
we're comfortable with because even I don't know if we choose not to root for Pog or if we say, oh, I don't like Pog, like it's not going to affect him in any way.
No,
It's not
right,
really going to affect the team UAE. They're probably going to keep sponsoring the
right.
team. Um, so our individual um, decisions are, it is kind of like an interesting dilemma that it puts the fans in because yeah, we are kind of beholden to the capitalist system. And that is kind of an interesting divide, though, as you bring up with human rights. Like, can we separate, oh, these corporations that we don't like versus we got these autocratic countries that are making people's lives hell.
Right.
Like, can we
It's
draw a line
different.
there?
Right.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it
different.
is
It is
different.
different. Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
So it, yeah, I don't really know in terms of like, I guess what is your perspective on rooting for someone like Pog in the
Yeah,
Peloton?
so I think like if I were to have to draw a line, it would be the purchasing of the gear or the merch that is associated with it. Now, I know there's sort of a taboo subject of like wearing pro kit as amateur cyclists, right? But I did recently buy the retro 7-Eleven jersey that Uno X put out. Now, Uno X did put that out with um Vision? No, not Vision, but there was the kit manufacturer. Did I make that purchase without even thinking about no, not necessarily without thinking about it, but like when I think of Uno X mobility, I actually recently listened to a podcast with like the DS of Uno X mobility, and they were talking about how Uno X was trying to involve more green energy into their portfolio as opposed to just like drilling for oil, Ineos, Total Energy type of companies. Did I follow up on that? No. Could that guy been blowing smoke? Absolutely, he could have, right? Um, I would not feel comfortable wearing a t-shirt that was a picture of Pog wearing a UAE kit. Do you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
that is sort of where I don't want to be putting my money towards those companies directly. Now, by subscribing to Peacock, does my money somehow trickle down to UAE getting a cut of it? Yes, it's all part of the same system, right? And that's part of this like problem of voting with your dollar, if you will, in the late stage capitalism that is the world for the most part, right? Because like we do talk about these autocratic nations and they are yeah, like I don't know, man. I'm not gonna be wearing like an Alula Tour t-shirt, like, but I don't know. It is such a hard decision. And so that's why I think you should go on Tiz and pirate cycling. Just go and pirate it. Borrow bikes from your friends. I don't know. It's hard because like I'm a big Cervelo fan, right? I got a new Cervelo gravel bike. Um, are they a perfect company? I don't know. Like it's so hard. Sometimes it's so like daunting at times, right? Because us as individuals, as like why do I need like should I be burdened by that all the time because the system sucks so much that it's put me in this spot where now me as an individual has to make those decisions? I feel like saying no, I don't want to make those decisions. That's stupid is like a fucking cop out, and I think that's like a coward's response to it. And I think us just talking about it and like getting it out there is probably the best sort of thing that we can do as individuals is like, hey, really, everyone should be thinking about this at least. It's not good to be ignorant about it. It's honestly not good to be willingly ignorant about anything, right? And so, like, how can we have more conversations like this as individuals? And, like, what can we do? Because, like, we're not going to petition.org doesn't fucking do anything, folks. You know what I mean? And so like we could start a petition that like we want POG on EF education because you know what? It's EF education first. And but like there are also non-title sponsors that are probably involved with every single world tour team that have somewhat of a problematic background, right? And so yeah, it's easy for us to think about like Visma, UAE, sort of the title brands, right? But like that is where cycling is, and the money is hard. Even successful teams fold,
Hmm.
right? Like even successful teams need to get money. Like friggin' Ineos is now also Total Energy, which I absolutely hate. I hate seeing that logo on an Ineos kit during the tour. It's really fucking weird. Um, But yeah, like I think it's good to talk about it. I think it's a very hard as an individual, especially when it's something so big. It kind of reminds me of like the people are like that argument, like separate the art from the artist argument. You know what I mean? Like
Mm, yeah.
you have to draw a line somewhere, right? Or you don't draw a line somewhere, and then I'm like, how do you sleep at night? You know what I mean? And so like it's tough think it is like just an individual decision, right? Like what are your thoughts on it? Like, I mean, we both like Pog, right? Like we love to watch him. He's the best fucking bike rider of all time. We're watching him, be an absolute animal out there. This is not sponsored by the feed, by the way. But yeah, what do you think?
I think you bring up an interesting point about kind of the flaw of voting with your dollar
Right,
because in the end um it doesn't necessarily work in a
right,
unless you organize a mass movement, your individual contributions
right.
are generally kind of negligible in the grand scheme of things. So I'm just pausing to think, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's so hard. I mean, I sit here in a room with a bunch of shoes made by Nike. They're far from a perfect company. You know what I mean? They use child labor, they use slave labor in their fact. Could I not be buying the shoes? Of course I could. Should I not be buying the shoes? What during this conversation? Probably not. I think it will make me think about it a little bit more, but it is such a flawed thing. Like we shouldn't be the ones that have to make that decision. Like they shouldn't be putting it on us. Like the system is so corrupt that like the companies that have thrived in the capitalist society that we live in are the ones that make the fucking worst decisions, right? Because they're using the child labor, they're not paying their employees the right amounts, they're not offering health care, they're saying no to unions, they're doing all of the things that are so bad that like I absolutely hate and I stand against. And then I'm like sitting here with fucking Nikes on, you know what I mean? And it's like it is so, so hard. Like, obviously, if we started over, it could be different, but like, it's not going to be different. Like, So yeah, I guess that's why I say like we can be having the conversation, we can be bringing it to the forethought of other people, people that have never thought about it before, people that maybe they didn't even know it was a thing, you know. So I feel like I sort of
Mhm.
cut you off. I get fired up pretty easily. I'm getting warm up in this room. I keep drinking water.
No, and I guess just there is that sense of this is the reality that we live in, and we have to accept some things. Um, but in terms of endorsing something like UAE or Bahrain or any of these regimes, like wearing their merch, it might be a step too far versus if you think about a company like X, yes, they pollute and
Yeah,
they're contributing to the fossil fuel crisis with global warming. But at the same time, we do rely on fossil fuels. That is our
right,
reality. So
right,
even if I kind of agree, I would feel more comfortable endorsing um,
right,
X than wearing like a UAE merch or any of those other teams. Um, so that is, yeah, in terms of the riders on UAE, they get all the best riders.
right.
And it is like anyone can be bought at some
Oh,
level,
right, right,
probably. Um, and you almost, I don't know, it is again hard to judge going back to the Quinn Simmons example where they have spent their entire youth just focused on biking and they might not be thinking about the broader implications of working as an employee for UAE, as representing
right,
UAE,
right,
just because their entire world has just been cycling, and
right,
cyclists usually have a short career. Most of them aren't making a ton of money, like we said. So the ones that do make it, yeah, they probably could have better um, judgment when it comes to picking their contracts. But yeah, it is just that going back to we can't rely on these people as like thought leaders.
right,
They're cycling leaders,
right,
obviously, but
right.
they I don't know. And at some level that is a cop out. Like we do have to demand better from the sport if we want it to change.
Sure.
Um, and that kind of gets to one of my other discussion questions on whether sports washing works in a cycling context. I know we don't really have data for this,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I don't feel attached to UAE
No,
as a
I think we
team.
could say anecdotally that as individuals, no, it doesn't work. Obviously, for us. I think the opposite of works. We're actually talking about how much those places suck right now, and we're putting it up on a public platform. I know this isn't the biggest podcast or anything, and but like it's not working. I don't want to go to Dubai. I don't want to go to one of those artificial islands on vacation, but I never wanted to. That wasn't because of this conversation has helped, you know, but like it's always sort of been like, oh no, I don't really like the way that they do things over there. I don't like the way that they treat their women. I don't like the way that they treat their laborers, you know, and like, and I say laborers, but they have like there are people who are enslaved that work on those hotels and those resorts and all that stuff. And like, they're not they're not being paid, they're not being fed, they're not being hydrated. It is all so bad. And so, like, I think it probably does work on some people to some extent, but to me, it's not enough for society to forget about like the atrocities that are happening in these places, you know? And so like it is unfair that like yeah UAE Team Emirates X Lab what you know UAE X Lab what are they now are they UAE X Lab
XRG.
oh
XLab is
XRG
the
X Lab is Astana
Astana.
yeah
Yeah.
sorry X yeah um it is very like I don't know. I'm not thinking any. I'm personally, I'm not thinking any better about it, and they're not like maybe in soccer or in F1, it has more of an effect. I mean, like you mentioned, the Qatar World Cup. I'm sure millions of people went there, not only just
Yeah.
watched it, right, but actually went there and were tourists there and spent money at hotels, and that is a big thing. And we talk about people going and watching cycling. I mean, I did watch the Alula tour. I did watch, what's the other one that happened? Oh, the Saudi tour. There aren't tons of fans. It's like there aren't tons of people flocking there the way they do to the tour. I mean, the Tour de France, right? I mean, those are very different things. Most people, the everyday person on the street that has heard about the Tour de France has no idea that there's an Alula tour or a Saudi tour or even a Giro d'Italia, to be perfectly honest. You know what I mean? So I do think cycling is such a small piece of the pie when it comes to sports washing, but it is like a very much a thing. And, even just being desensitized to saying the
Hmm.
term UAE and not having a negative connotation, I think that's probably the effect that it has on me, or as sort of, like an average viewer of cycling. I think that would be the desensitizing. Jayco Alula, just saying it. Is just saying it promoting their brand? I don't know. Like, in a way, it kind of is.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that is a really good perspective. Like if they didn't think it was working, they wouldn't do it.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but and yeah, having that like when I see Michael Woods riding up the mountain, I'm like, oh, an Israel rider.
Right.
He's the first thing I think of when I think of Israel. I don't think of the atrocities being committed in Gaza.
Right. Right.
So it is kind of, yeah, that it does it does kind of work in that kind of split second kind of way where it's the first thing that you associate with the term.
Right.
So yeah, in that sense, it does work. In the sense of me having a positive opinion on any of those regimes, I'm right there with you in terms of yeah, I never want to set foot in any of those countries as they are right
Right.
now.
Right.
Um, so yeah, it is but it is an interesting dynamic there. Um, I did want to touch on, I don't know if we kind of already went past this, but I guess kind of the one time I think that the UCI has taken a stand on sports washing
Hmm.
is with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Um, there was a pro team, Gazprom Rusvelo,
Yep.
that was, I guess, yeah, sponsored by the state gas company of Russia,
Russia. Yeah.
and
Right.
they were dissolved in 2022,
Right.
and all the Russian riders now that you see in the World Tour have the blank flags instead of the
Right.
Russian flags by their nationality.
Right.
Um,
Even during the Olympics, they were wearing like what sort of like grayed out, neutral looking kits, right? With no Russian Federation flag on them.
mhm.
Yeah.
And I guess what I think that example speaks to is that it is possible for
Right.
these organizations to take a stand
Right.
um,
So
like
that's so
that.
that's what needs to happen. It's the UCI that needs to make the change, right?
Hmm.
We can make the decisions as individuals, but realize that they are individual decisions, right? And that as much as this is good for us to be talking about it or for like two people to agree, and I'm sure there are other people that agree with us, an organization like the UCI can be making more of a stance to bring even more light to it and actually be more than just a drop in the bucket. As good as we feel about making the decisions that we feel are right, it does leave it up to the UCI. And I mean, what we're putting our faith in the UCI. You got to be out of your mind, you know? Like, and so hopefully there is room for change, as I think that sort of is a productive way of everyone to look at life, right? Is to like, hey, let's try to progress things here and let's try to do things differently. So I like how you said you wouldn't step foot in some of those nations today because we can be hopeful that things change, right? And I think that's the biggest thing is like we should be hopeful that the UCI can change, and whether that means lobbying certain board members, right? Having conversations with them if we can. You know, as an individual, you can reach out, you can see. I mean, it's very different than like calling your senator here or whatever, you know, like, hey, I'm one of your constituents, right? We're not constituents of the UCI, but hey, there are, a lot of amateur cyclists like us that pay for UCI licenses or pay for USA cycling licenses, and you're a paid member of that organization, and you can, I guess I shouldn't have said amateurs pay for UCIs, but you know what I mean, right? Like there are people that like there is a cycling like you is there a when they stop a stage when they're like, hey, we're not riding anymore, it's fucking dangerous.
Mm.
There, it's not a union, but there is like a who is that decision maker? You know, they've talked about they throw names around like
Yeah,
representatives, if you will, right?
yeah, I think that is a cyclist union
Cycling
that
union.
does,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah.
does stop the stage. And so they do have some
They
form
have
of collective
people.
bargaining. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Um, I know people always get mad at the safety guy. I forget his name right now, but
Adam
um,
something. Adam Hansen. Adam Hansen.
yeah,
Yes. Adam Hansen.
yeah,
That's the only reason why I know him because people always get mad at him. Yes.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, it is. I'm glad that you brought this conversation around to a more hopeful note because I
Yeah.
mean, I guess the reason that we care is that we like cycling and we like
Right.
pro cycling.
Right.
So we do want it to be a better sport and one that we feel more ethical supporting.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so yeah, I guess at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Um, yeah.
No, I totally agree. Thank you for wanting to talk about this. Thank you for bringing it up, for being prepared with your notes. I really appreciate it. I think it's important to, put it on a platform like this and get other people to think about it. And, it is yeah, it is important, and that as individuals, I think that's one of the good things that we can do, right? Is like, okay, how do things get changed? Maybe it is with this sort of like approaching a union in a way, or approaching cyclists in a way that they can sort of raise it up, right? Because like if we're talking individuals like us versus, the nation of UAE, there's a lot of steps in between. And so like how can we step up our voice and step up our voice and and all of that. So yeah, real quick before you go, you got one tour. Let's go. One, you have a tour hot take. I don't mean to put you on the spot. And who do you think is going to win? And that can be part of the hot take if you want, but any sort of closing, you're here. I got to take these glasses off and get this good. You have a good green shirt on, like the
Oh
good
yeah.
color green that used to be the green jersey for the Tour de France. I've got the matching flag behind me. What do you think? What do you got any predictions? You got any like stage hopes? You hope Sepp Kuss wins a stage or something like that? Because I know I would love to see that.
Yeah, I really would love to see that. Yeah, thank you. This shirt is from the 2014 Tour de France.
Ooh,
Yeah,
nice.
we were there, I think either the day before or the day after the Champs-Élysées stage. So I didn't get to
Oh, cool.
spectate it, but
Who won in 2014? Do you remember? Chris Froome is probably a good bet.
yeah, it's either Froome or Nibali. I'm not sure if it was the tour that Froome dropped out, but I feel like it was Froome.
I've got it right here, and it was Vincenzo Nibali. Second
Ooh,
was Parad, and third was Thibaut Pinot.
oh,
And in the green
legend.
jersey that year, Peter Sagan won green that
Sagan.
year. Yeah,
Yeah,
Sagan. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, you
He's
got
a
any hot takes or anything?
mm. I don't have a hot take for
I think
my
Jonas is going to win. That's going to be my hot take. I think Jonas is going to win. I think Visma might have. I think they're smart, and I like the way. I don't know. Sometimes they do dumb shit too. But what the fuck do I know? I'm just a guy with a podcast. I hate that. Like, I'm not trying to be like an armchair coach or anything. It's so easy to coach on the rest day. You know what I mean? Sitting here talking to you. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, I think I would love for Jonas to win, even if just it increases the level of competition. Like
yes.
it just makes it better. Even
Right.
though I'm a huge Pog fan,
Yep.
and when Yumbo was dominating a couple of years ago, I was like,
Right.
I can't stand
This
this Jonas
sucks.
guy.
Yep. Yep.
But now that the coin is on the other side, I don't know. I kind of agree. It'd be nice for Jonas to win. Do I think that it will happen? I'm still predicting Pog.
Yeah.
Kind of a very cold take, I guess. But do I have any real hot takes?
Or hopefuls. What do you got? You got a podium hopeful?
Podium hopeful. It'd be cool to see Jorgensen on the podium.
Yeah. Assuming that the top two are Pog and Jonas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Does Enric
Lipovic.
Moss sneak his way back in there somehow?
Uh, I don't know. And he's got a soft spot in my heart, but
Yeah, same,
he's just not a top tier rider. I mean,
same.
he's a top tier rider 5 years ago, but the level has just increased too much. Who would I like to see? I mean, I'd like to see Roglic. Maybe that will be my hot take.
That's
Roglic on
good.
the
That's good.
podium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanna see as much as I want to see Sepp Kuss win a stage. I want to see Geraint Thomas win a stage. I don't think there's any way in hell of it happening. I don't really know if if we think Primoz doesn't care to win. I mean, G was in the break the other day and he was looking decent in the break, and it's fun to see him out there. But like, I feel like this is very much a relaxing a retirement tour. I mean, it's not relaxing, let's be honest, and like that's the other thing. Like, talk about being an armchair coach. If UAE called me up on some reason, they said, "Hey, we want to hire a 36-year-old, almost 37-year-old cyclist," I'd be like, "Hell yeah, I'll do whatever." So, you know what I mean? Like that's the other thing is like, there's going to be someone. There's just so many fucking assholes on the internet, and I know there's going to be someone that like, oh, you wouldn't ride for Ineos? Yeah, of course I would, but like, that's not even an option. Like, it's not even a possibility. It's like like talk about elite. Pro cyclists are so elite. Even the riders that you've never heard of are so much better than us. But yeah, I don't know. I like Geraint Thomas and enough, I guess. Even though I kind of cooled down on him in the last year. I don't listen to his podcast as much as I used to. Um, but yeah, a stage win from him, a podium from him, that'll never happen. I don't even know where he sits right now, to be honest. It can't be too far back, but Simon Aaronsman had kind of a great ride the other day too.
Yeah. Yeah. Ineos has been struggling. They do need a win. I would love to see G get something out of this tour. I mean, he
So
is going to get something just
yeah,
in the fact that he's completing it as the oldest rider there.
right, right.
But yeah, yeah. I don't know if I see it either, but
Yeah.
that would be so cool. That would be just yeah, incredible.
Yeah, talking about that like sort of panache, that cyclismo type of thing, that like Ben Healy has so much of, and I see Alaphilippe going off the front sometimes, and like if that same type of rider, even though he might not have it as much as he used to, but like I just like that type of exciting. I think that's why I like Pog so much. I think he's exciting. I know that like people think it's boring, but I don't know. I'm not bored yet. I'm having withdrawals today. I'm glad we got to talk about cycling because I didn't watch any pro cycling today as the first rest day. So yeah. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
Uh No, I think we've covered pretty much everything. I'm looking forward to the next 2 weeks of racing.
Yeah, hell yeah, me too.
I hope it's a good fight. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you so
yeah,
much
same.
for having me on.
No problem. Thank you,
Yeah.
dude. I really appreciate it. And yeah, let's do it again sometime soon.
Sweet.
Later.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
We are It's Just a Hill, a cycling club that promotes inclusion, judgment-free, with no gatekeepers. Focused on creating content from behind the handlebars to in the studio, It's Just a Hill is producing videos and podcasts to spread the message that cycling is for everyone. We are focused on reminding everyone that riding your bike can help you overcome any obstacle, because after all, it's just a hill.
Decaf left, regular right. Decaf left, regular right. It's very challenging work.